Hello and welcome to a behind the scenes of the TagIn podcast. Because I've said I'm going to do this for a while, you may notice that I'm not exactly alert. This is because I'm actually sick at the moment. First thing, ignoring the cup. The cup is a housemate's cup, so that's why it's purple. Purple's a fine color. This is honey and lemon warm water. This is just when you're sick and your voice isn't working very well. If you drink this, it will clear up your voice a lot. So you'll have the honey will soothe your throat and the lemon will clear it all up. It being in hot water means that you can also smell it and clear your sinuses. And yeah, it's just all around helpful. And this is what I learnt to use when I was doing productions with school. When I was like having to sing for 3 nights straight. This is how you keep your voice alive. It's great. So, another thing that you must have with you when doing podcasts is water. Just water. Nothing else. It's just water. You need water more than you would think. So, what I'm actually going to go through today is going through the editing process of how I go through and edit a podcast. Now, I've had many people come up to me and say, "See, my voice is now going to return to normal, I hope." I've had many people come up to me and say, "Your voice sounds really good on the podcast, like really good. How do you do that?" I actually edit the voice. It's not very hard. It's a little bit tricky to get right at first, but once you get it right, everything's just saved as profiles, and you start to memorize the images that you see. So that's what I'm also going to go through today. Recording equipment. So what Link uses is actually this. So this is a GameCon Planetronix headset, Planetronix Gamecom headset, just the red rimmed one. I don't know what exactly it is called at the moment. This is my backup actually. My main one is one of the portable ones because I had such a good time with these ones. I'm like, I'm gonna upgrade and I'm also gonna get one of the portable ones so it's easier to transport, and yeah. That isn't meant to happen. This is meant to happen. That is not. So, this is my backup. So this is what Link uses to record. It isn't a great setup. And you'll see when we get to Link's audio track, you'll see that it doesn't pick up very well. It doesn't pick up any sounds really well. But I can, due to the power and magic of editing, we can actually make it pick up and work well. Yes, and anyone asking about how my room looks so blank, it's because I can't have anything on the walls. I'm not allowed to use glue tack, and I can't be bothered framing my things to use the nails which are already in the walls. So yeah. Okay. Let's get over to it. So this is my audio track. My wonderful, beautiful audio track. One thing I've been doing lately, which I don't need to do, is this is in stereo. And because the way that we do podcasts, we don't need stereo. What's the point in stereo? Unless you're gonna be like, oh, I want this on the right side. Unless you're doing that, you don't really need stereo. Like, if you want to put Link on the left and me on the right, sure, it's fancy. It doesn't work very well, but it is fancy. So, we'll turn this off now. So the first thing I do when I get to my audio is I get to tracks and stereo track to mono. Takes about 30 seconds for a... How long is this one? 37-minute long track? One problem with Audacity, you can only do one task at a time, and Audacity locks itself out. As you just heard, Audacity will lock itself out. So, yeah. I haven't messed with my audio on this at all. Hopefully the audio is fine. We're gonna have to hear voices anyway, so you kind of need a good... Hey, the computer needs to be loud as well as the voices need to be loud. So yeah, after this finishes, Audacity will not respond for about 2 to 5 seconds. Or work instantaneously. Love it when that happens. Another thing which you have to do is if you press this button here, you're gonna have to be watching this in 1080p. If you press this button here, you can zoom out. Now you see there's a few areas here where I'm obviously not talking, but there's sound in the background. Like over here. I don't know what that moan was. Okay, so what we do with this, and we're going to do this again with Link's track when we get it in here, is we're going to get the noise profile. So you go Effect, Noise Removal, get Noise Profile right here. Takes 2 seconds. Select the whole thing, Effect, because in my experience, noises pop up more than once. So the noise removal profiles, not leveling, noise removal profiles the noise and allows you to remove a lot of it from your track. This gets rid of background noise. One thing it can't do is Link has a problem and he's going deaf. And I don't know if I'm being figuratively or literal about that, but he is going deaf and he has his headphone up too loud and his microphone actually picks up my voice through the rattling. So, yeah. So, now we have that done, and it's a lot crisper. Now we've got some more noise over here. It's probably a little bit different. That was a car moving and me yawning. Link will be talking at the time, but so a lot of this won't be able to be heard. But if we get the noise profile again, effect, noise removal, okay. You want to kind of do this until this is as flat as possible. Really. It doesn't need to be perfect. But when we start doing equalization and compression on it, you'll notice that things will get louder. And when we start doing amplification, then we get some serious issues. Yeah, and now it's practically nothing over here. Just me yawning. But we're going to keep that in there. It's almost a tradition on the TagIn podcast. Some bodily functions we just... How do I zoom out? I hate that button. One time I hit the button. Aha. Control click zooms out. No, control click goes down. Shift click. Shift click zooms out. Okay, that's cool. Awesome. Don't hit that button. That button's just annoying. Yeah, let's view the whole stream. Okay, so this is looking pretty good now. You'll notice that there's peaks here, here. This one is what I want. So we're not going to edit this yet because I need this peak. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and import audio. And something you may want to start doing, which I didn't start doing quick enough, is actually organizing this a bit more. Because there's a lot of files right there. But what we just want to do is just click anywhere and type in link 82 because we're editing the 82nd podcast. And enter. So now it's importing his file. The reason in Australia particularly that it's important to keep all that information there is if someone ever tries to steal the podcast, I can go, well, I have evidence to say that I've been editing that podcast and producing that podcast. I own the copyright. So in Australia, it's very important to keep all that function. Now, you see that there's issues with Link's audio stream. And if I just want to save this and go back to last week's in particular, because they did a really good job last week. We go back to the... Already open, okay. Oh, look. Go back to last week's in particular, do the same button. Hey, this looks a lot better than that. Well, this has more content, but it looks a lot better. How could this be? This is the power of audio editing. If I didn't edit this podcast, you would get nothing. You'd get this.
Kind of replicate them and like give them super strength and all that, and yeah.
Yeah, so that's not good. That's not good for listening to. A lot of Link stuff is this background noisy, horrible stuff, which is due to the microphone particularly. But because this is very constant, if I go noise removal, get noise profile, effect, and remove it. It should clear up most of the audio track. Something else you'll notice that his peaks are very, very low. His peaks are only about 0.2, where mine are about, like, my general talking is nearly 0.4. I think right there it's about 0.5. But that causes issues. You can't listen to that. And another problem you'll notice is that I will actually, that was a sneeze, sorry, that I will actually be really loud here, and you see that I bottom out the peak. But if we go down here, I'm softer. This is just general voice. This is what your voice does, but we do try and fix it up a bit. Okay, so zoom in here. This is the clap. So when we start the podcast, what we do is this. I'm going to actually just line these up so it sounds better. We do this. 3, 2, 1. We do that so it's meant to sync up your audio tracks. The problem with this is we use Skype to talk. We're not in the same room. So it's more like that. And this is just something I've come from experience. I just know I need to delay it by about 200 or so milliseconds. Just so it fixes up the lag with Skype. And when you look over here, there shouldn't be much crossover. There's a bit of crossover here, but I bet that's because we're talking.
And
Michael's sick this week.
Michael sounds like the guy's booking.
Yeah. So, now we actually get to fixing up this audio a bit more. So yeah, we don't need to zoom out for this. Okay, the first thing we have to do is an equalization. Okay, so we go to Good Michael, because we're on Michael at the moment. Now, I did make some mistakes originally. But Good Michael is pretty good, and pretty spot on. The way that you make these is you want... Let's go to Link, because Link's more of a natural. Link's more of a you have a bad microphone. Because you shouldn't be expected to have the microphone I have. I have a Blue Yeti, by the way. I didn't say that. And I also use a pop filter, so... No. I'm gonna con Link into getting one of these one day. But you want the bass end, so this end, you want that to be high because natural voice bass is emphasized. You want the high end to be high because natural voice, high voices emphasized. And you want this middle part, the normal voice part, to be emphasized as well. And you need to balance these peaks. Don't balance them well, it's not going to sound great. If you balance them well, it sounds pretty good. I really don't have to do this anymore with my microphone. I still do, because I don't really know if it's a noticeable improvement, but yeah, I still like to do it. So yeah, we run that through. This one's pretty quick. So we now ran that through, and it doesn't look any real different, does it? And then we're also going to run a compression. And I usually just do it to the default settings. These are all the default settings. It's perfectly fine. Also, if you don't think Audacity is the best choice, Achievement Hunter uses Audacity, so... meh. Audacity is just really awesome. It's a really awesome tool. It's free. There's no money to pay. And, like, why not use it if it's there? You won't get the multiple audio streams if you have a basic sound card, but you don't really need it if you're doing it over Skype. Or if you have an awesome microphone. So yeah, that changed things. That makes things a lot more even across the board. Still gets a little bit light down here, but it's a lot more even. Now this is where it gets hot. Because I've got to go down here. And actually, at this stage, I do want to get rid of these. So I do want to like put time lock on. Very helpful button. And we want to zoom in a little bit. We want to get this starting a little bit after, and we want to just delete. You don't need that start bit. You don't need it at all. I do like it because it helps me sync up. What I'd really like is Link to say something practically as soon as I finish that, but that won't happen. He's always delayed. So, now we have to do the same thing to Link's track. Don't worry about this time lock, it isn't going to affect anything in this stage. Okay, over to Link, and I want to try something. I want to lower this. I think I'm being a bit too harsh on the guy. Lynx does have a higher voice than me, but I don't think it's that high. And we want to see how this goes. This may be absolutely horrible and I've ruined his voice for the entire podcast. We'll solo his track. Listen.
Ghost. Michael sounds like the guy's book nerd.
So, that's sounding alright. So we then go to the compressor, and you'll notice something about doing a compression on Link's track. You'll think that, hey, that should go about the same level that it does with Michael's track. Well, there's a problem about that. I'm out of my honey and lemon water. Don't drop things on tables either. That's audible. It felt mousepads make a really lovely coast. Yeah, see? So you would think, hey, maybe the compressor would even them up. It doesn't. It doesn't do that. It just makes it evener on his voice, and what the hell has he been doing?
I remember a time when you were like,
I am sorry, I just broke all your ears. So there is an issue with this track right here.
whistle on the part.
Oh, I know what
I
happened.
remember a time.
I know what's wrong. This is me whistling. I apologize for your ears. This is what you get when you're editing audio. I want to make that a peak audio of about, I don't know, negative 0.2. No, that was bad. Control Z. Effect. Amplify. New peak of 0.2. 0.2. Negative 0.2. 3, 5, 4, negative 1.0, enter. Nope. How did I do this in the past? Oh, so what's happened here is I've been an idiot and I know exactly what I've done. That's... Oh, wow. That's a in-breath on a 10 on a C scale harmonica. Don't do that on podcasts. It's really bad. There used to be a way. Like, de-amplify something. Yeah, there we go. Effect, repeat. Effect, repeat. Repeat. Okay, so now when we listen to it...
See, I remember a time when you were like,
So yeah, and this is him whistling. Wow, this is loud. This is the best podcast to choose to edit this thing on. Repeat, amplify, repeat, amplify. Oh right, we can just press Control R. Yeah, and then we go down a bit, and there's probably more of this horrible stuff. It's fine because it's showing up perfectly fine at the record.
yeah. So what have you been playing? Ow, ears.
It's fine because it's showing up perfectly fine at the recording. So, you see this is really going to stuff us around. So what we need to do, I haven't even told you what I'm doing yet. We are actually going to use this amplify function. And we're going to do a new peak of negative 0.9. This will stop any peaks hitting above the threshold. So it will stop this hitting the red. Now, Link's audio, however, because he does use a not so great microphone, he has other issues where his audio actually changes volume quite a fair bit. And see this? This is going to stuff this whole thing up. Yeah, the tempo. So, effects, amplify, new peak out, amplification. Okay, that's kind of our marker. So, effect, amplify, new peak amplification, 0. I don't know why I like using negative. Other side of this marker. All the way across to this part. Effect, new peak amplification is another negative 0.9. This part here we want to select separately. Effect, repeat amplification. Whoa, that's not good. Right, you can't do that because the peak itself isn't actually within the... It will do an amplification of 0.2 rather than actually the peak. And then we need to select across here. Way up to this peak here. Effect, amplify. This is actually a really bad audio track this week. I'm not only doing this for other people's benefit, I'm also doing this so one day I could take a day off editing and Link can do it. Because at the moment, Link really doesn't do much. He comes into talks, which is very, very super important. And he wants to do other stuff, but it's just he's never had any experience with editing. And it took me a while to get to the stage that I am with editing. It also may convince him, by him doing it, it may convince him to get a new microphone himself. He'll go, oh, hang on a second. My audio is really... See, we haven't even got past the 8-minute mark. This is crazy. I'm gonna stop being so nice to him at this point. Effect. Amplify. Negative 0.9. See? That works. What the hell's going on here?
Here, darling.
I'm not gonna even touch it, and we're gonna just keep going. Now you'll notice that this popped up. Effect, noise removal. And noise profile. Effect. Noise removal. Okay. This is a problem when you're too quiet on a podcast. You will get more editing than is required to fix up the quietness. Like, I shouldn't really have to be editing that. But he did make some hums in there, and it will sound like I'm talking to myself too much. But look, it's all cleared. That function is your savior and your grace, and you love it. I think from this point on, he was pretty alright. There's a issue right there. I wish I didn't unselect that. This is actually a really horrible podcast. Do this one. So the downside to having a cheaper mic and a mic that isn't built to do this stuff is the fact that there's a lot more editing required. But you don't need a super expensive mic. You don't need a Blue Yeti. If you edit your sound, you will sound 10 billion times better no matter what. No matter what you're using. We do the sound editing because the computer itself doesn't pick up the human voice extremely well. And we prefer it to pick up our voices better. That is why we generally do the sound editing. What I should actually do after doing this is run a compression over it. I actually may try this. Run another compression over it. Just so it smooths the stuff out a bit. Because the other thing is the compressor can't pick up on everything. It has a lowest point. That would be so finicky to play with Link's audio, because his audio is, a lot of it can be noise. But once I do this, yeah, okay, that's audio editing. This now sounds nice.
He is of Arabic faith. She's quite young sister's origin story, but the ones coming out at the moment, like number 6 came out this week.
Set in the middle, that's who I'm aiming for. I don't care. Okay, so I'll bring you back when it comes to doing the post. And we're back. So I just listened to the entire thing. Usually I would listen to it on normal speed, but today really no, because it takes a while, and it's a 37-minute long podcast today, so that's a very long while. So 1.5 times speed. Generally I don't do that because I get to edit out pauses more frequently if I do it on a slower speed, but not tonight. I'm not feeling very well. Okay, so now when we look at this page, not that page, that was the wrong page, this page, you'll see that I've got a download link, and I've got the player, and I've got hello and welcome to the TagIn podcast. Today we talk about ... So, this is why we have the sticky note, and I filled out this sticky note mostly while recording the podcast. And then I added a few things while adding to it. So, we just go simply across. So the idea behind this is we give credit where it's due to... Yes, I know how to spell aperture. We give credit where it's due to actual people. Music is just going to be music, but like when I go Lego Marvel game, it's going to be actual link to the game. T2 is going to be a link to T2's website. Logo discussion is nothing. The paper mache using copybooks will link to the link which I have saved. So that will actually be then... The idea behind doing this with Blogger is I get to just easily just go through these things and just add like that. And I also get the full HTML editor, and I get all these tools, which are very, very nice. And I cannot spell costume today. Should be costume. Like that. No? This is another problem when I'm sick. So, new Batgirl costume. Of course, it's gonna also be linked through to the link which I have saved. actually just a single image link, because I did get it from a website, and yeah, the website was talking about how people were making fan art of it rather than, yeah. Funny, because the fan art itself was more revealing. We're not going to actually talk about, not going to actually save Miss Marvel. And I'm going to go misrepresentation of all sides in comics. And extreme sides of arguments. Now, we're not going to actually hint that this argument is actually an argument about sexism. We're not going to hint that. But what we are going to do, recently, the thing that really put me on this, hey, look, all the things I'm subscribed to. Wow, fancy. And a toast rad, woo. We're actually going to go to Total Halibut. Or Total Biscuit. It'll link to Total Halibut. And used to link to Total Halibut. Oh, it is. Yeah, he recently did a piece on
maybe it's just because I'm exposed to gamers more than I am to other groups, but there's a lot of really dumb gamers out there that say some very stupid things, and
we're actually going to copy this video URL. And hopefully he doesn't get annoyed at me for showing that. May quickly edit that out. So we're copying the video URL for Total Halibut's video on the extreme sides of arguments and how he's progressing. That's just because gamers are idiots. Misrepresentation of all sides in comics. We're not going to have a link for that. That's purely our discussion, and this came off our own heads, so we don't need to reference any of that. Aperture tag. So we just go Google aperture tag. We go to the Steam page because there's nothing else really for it. And we're going to pause that immediately. So it's actually getting pretty good reviews now. So they could be bribing people. We don't know. No, I take all that back. So we link aperture tag to a store page. Usually I try not to link to store pages. If there's a Wikipedia page or an actual game website, I'll link to that, preferably. Just because I get a little bit annoyed. I don't want to like tell people to buy it. I prefer to tell them to look at it. And linking to the Steam page is kind of like, hey, look, you can buy it right here. The Steam powered one was a bit different. But yeah, so now we've all linked up. Now there's one thing we are missing, and that is we have to load up the podcast to the correct servers. And we're actually going to go over here. Because there's a lot of private information that's going to be shown on that screen, we can't really show it. So we're actually taking the 82 gold. And we are scrolling up the entire page, and up the top there's my ready uploads, and into season 2. It's getting quite big, and we do the same format. So this is a format that's totally cool for web. The web loves this. It doesn't seem to have any issues. I've never seen an issue as of yet. If there are any issues, people should tell me, because otherwise I'd never see them. Issues being found generally happen because the public tells you. So that's our title. And what we're going to actually do, we're going to connect to my lovely server host, who has been so lovely and continues to support the podcast by allowing us access to a server. And we are forever indebted to him. That's litrov.com. He's also now He's also now developing games and like has his own game company, which is awesome. We just drag it across. We make it so I can actually access this data. my second monitor isn't big. My second monitor is an old TV screen. And action after completing, we can just close FileZilla after it's completed. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna have to go. Okay, so now we've actually copied this podcast link. And you'll notice in here it's getting a little bit confusing. The link here is to download now. So there you go, there's your podcast link. And then the link here is to actually run the audio. And just copy and paste it over there. So yeah, this is the how we do it. And we go to the TagIn podcast because I can never remember how I do these titles. I should write it down one day. And we grab the title. Post the title, change it to an 82 and rewrite it. Now here's where the important stuff things. You have to tag posts, otherwise search results never get it. And we're gonna actually maximize that so this stops doing its crazy thing. TagIn is spelled one word, but I do put the singular words in there just to hit more of the search results. We're gonna set a time for Wednesday at 1900 hours, Australian Eastern Standard Time. And done. The podcast is going to be ready to go on time. So that's how we do it. That's all there is to it. And it takes about an hour of editing after about an hour of recording. Yeah. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Again, you do not need a good microphone to start doing podcasts. You just need to be good at audio editing. Or you just need to learn how to be good at audio editing. If you listen to episode 1, don't. But if you listen to episode 1, it's absolutely horrible. But once you learn things, you get just better at it, and you can edit audio in a way that makes it sound better. And one day, when I have the time and the money to hire an underling to do it, that episode 1 will be completely redone. I'll just get a random guy and be like, I'll pay you $30 to completely re-edit this whole thing. They'll be like, sure. And then there's like, this took too long. Like a first-year audio student for a university. That's what we do. Thanks for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed. I'm Short29 signing out.